gather all of your materials for your woodblock printing unit and make sure they're all in your kit. If they're not, please let me know. Then the first step you're going to do is you're going to take your ink drawing and you're going to trace it onto tracing paper. You need to use a soft pencil for this so that it will transfer onto your linoleum cut. So there should be a soft pencil in your kit, either a 6HB or a 8HB, and you'll just go over top of your ink picture with that tracing paper and that pencil. The reason it's not going to make any difference whether your writing shouldn't get mixed up or switched the wrong way, because we're flipping this twice. So right here I flipped the tracing paper so the pencil part is down facing the block, facing your Speedball block there that you're going to be cutting your lino cut out of. And then I'm just rubbing the ink, or the pencil, pardon me, I'm rubbing the pencil lead onto the block. Now you're going to want to go over that with pen just so it doesn't smudge and so it's a little bit darker for you. It will smudge anyway depending on your pen, but at least if it's a little bit darker in here you'll be able to see what you're doing. And then once you have all of that done, we're going to go into the cutting techniques with your Speedball. Now remember, with your Speedball cutter I'm going to show you two different techniques. One is where you cut out all the black lines that you did. So in your print, your background ends up being black and your lines end up being white. So it's a bit of the reverse of what your line drawing is, of what your ink drawing is. So we'll just go through that one. It's probably the one that takes the least amount of time, because you are just cutting over your black lines. I guess depending how much texture and how many lines you have on there as to how long it's going to take you. Use your smallest tip on your Speedball to do this as you're going in. And remember, this Speedball block is very soft. You don't have to press hard. If you start pressing hard, you're going to put some really big gouges into your lino cut or into your soft block here that you're not going to be able to get out. So you don't have to press too hard. You're just going in and removing all of the black lines. You can do a variation of the two different methods that I'll show you. This one is where you're just removing the black lines. And the second method is where you leave the black lines, but you remove all the background. And certainly for the best dimension, you'll use a little bit of both of those techniques, where you're taking out the black lines sometimes, and sometimes you're taking out the background, and it'll just give you two different effects. So just give you a little bit of a little bit of time just to try both of those there and see which one you like. Once you're happy with it, you're going to have to go in and do a test print. And the reason you're going to do a test print is because you might think you've got all of the black lines out, but as soon as you do an ink transfer, you might realize there's a few lines that you did forget. But you can always go back and get those, so that's no big deal. So once you're happy with that, we're going to do a test print. We're going to apply the ink, and you don't need a lot of ink. You're taking your tray, your plate. Your plate might look slightly different than this, and you're putting, a teaspoon size would be a lot of ink onto your tray, and then you're taking your Speedball roller and you are just making sure that that ink is distributed evenly over the roller from start to finish. You'll go back and forth both different ways until your entire roller is covered evenly with that black ink. Once it's completely covered, then you can take it and roll it over your soft block there. And when you do that, just be careful not to get it on any table or whatever it is that you're working on there. But you can just roll this on back and forth with that ink, and it should be good. So you can even see as the ink is going on how this is reversed, how your black lines are now going to become your white lines, and your white background is now going to become your black background. And as I lift it up, I can see, okay, there's a few lines that I forgot. No big deal. I'll just take my soft block back and I'll add in those lines that I forgot. You're probably better off to wait till the ink dries a little bit, otherwise you'll have a fair bit of ink everywhere on your hands. But you can always add in, or if you think you need more texture at this point, maybe your picture looks a little dull and you want more texture, we'll go ahead in and put in more texture in this. It's not a big deal to do that. Then do another test print in here. If you're happy with it, this is mulberry paper that's being used here, which is a nicer paper to use for an ink transfer. The ink just transfers a little bit better. And there you go. So now we're going to do method 2, and I'll just run through method 2 for you. This one takes a little bit more time, but I really like the effect a little bit more. I think it has a little bit more, it looks a little more intricate detail, or I'm not sure. I guess using both of them, you'll have to use both at different times in your drawing depending on what it looks like. So here I've got the finest nib of my Speedball tool here, and I'm making fine lines on either side of the black line that I've drawn. So I'm not cutting out the black line, I'm actually cutting on either side of the black line. So I'm making sort of a bit of a deep well on either side of the black line. Eventually I'm going to have to come in and take out all of that background, but I'll do that with a bit of a bigger nib and it'll go a little bit faster. So right now it's just the smallest nib on there and going in on either side of every black line. So you can see for mine, especially with the raindrops that are coming down, I've got to make that, I've got to go around each one of those raindrops and take out some of that soft block on either side. And once I've done that all over it, then I can switch to a bigger tool and then I can start taking out some of that white background and then it'll go a little bit faster. But take your time with this. You don't have to rush this. You've got lots of time to do a good job on this, and you'll see the finer detail you can do and the more intricate work you can do, you're going to be so much happier with your print in the end. So don't rush this, and take your time as you're going through it. And as soon as you've got all of your outlines done, then you can switch the nib, and then you can start taking out the larger cuts of the background. And by taking out those larger cuts in the background, the ink isn't going to end up touching those, so then those will end up being your white background, more like your original ink print. So you can see here I just switched to a fatter nib, and then I can go in a little bit. I can take out more of the soft block in a bit of a faster manner in there. Do be careful when you're going in there. If you take out those lines that you wanted to leave, you can't put them back, right? This isn't, once it's gone, it's gone. And you'll probably notice on this one, I went a little bit fast by the end. In the beginning, it doesn't happen, but it happens in the end when I go and do some refining work. I actually end up taking off the nose of her, of the girl walking. I take off just the tip of her nose, and I thought, oh, shoots, what have I done? I'm not sure it makes a huge difference in the end, except that I know that I did it. I was working around the nose and went a little bit fast with my work around the face, and I did end up taking off her nose in the final print of this one, but not a big deal. You work with it as you go. And as you go, you'll have a brush in your kit too. That brush is just to be able to get off any of the little grains and things as you go. But when you're happy with your print, you're going to have to do a test print again, so apply your ink. You'll see you'll have missed some spots again. You'll think you'll have done such a great job, and you'll notice there's a few things here and there. You'll notice on mine, I noticed it as soon as I put the ink on this soft block ink. And so I'm doing my transfer here. Notice now I'm flipping the block. I actually prefer to have the block going down. That way I know I'm not putting the paper in any little depressions that it shouldn't be. So you can see from my print here, I entirely forgot most of removing the background of the girl's face. So the girl's face is actually quite black here. I knew that when I put the ink on, but I still wanted to do the test print just to see. Maybe it wasn't going to look as bad, but as I did it, she looked a little extra sad. So I did want to go in and fix that. So then I went in and took the background out around the face just to leave the original lines that I had intended. And you can see that there's some spots that I missed around the rain and such. So once you've taken out those extra backgrounds, then you can go in and do another test print. And when you do the test print, if you're happy with that, then put more ink on, and then do your final prints on the paper that you like. I've sent you some mulberry paper in your kit, and I want you to do at least 4 of these prints. Yes. on your 4 prints, when you're finished with them, I want you to sign the bottom of them underneath the print with the title of your print and the number of it. So is this the first out of 4, the second out of 4, the third out of 4, or the fourth out of 4? So your name and title and how many this is should be at the bottom.